Good morning everyone. Today we will start a new chapter of chemistry, that is periodic classification of elements. So let's start the new chapter, periodic classification of elements. And first I want to discuss with you that in the periodic classification we have already discussed about the elements. Before periodic classification, I want to discuss about the elements. In 9th class, you had already learned about it, that matter, according to the chemical classification, it is classified into two categories. One is pure substance and the another one is mixture. Pure substance are the substances that are made up of only one kind of particles, whereas the mixtures are made up of different kind of particle in indefinite ratio. They are not chemically mixed. Pure substances can be classified as element and as compounds. If the same kind of atoms are there, then they are known as elements, and if different kind of elements chemically combined, then they form compounds. Elements may be of different type, may be metal, as we had already discussed it, non-metals and metalloids. So in this chapter, as the name of the chapter is periodic classification of elements, we will discuss about the classification of elements. So according to the name of the chapter, elements, now you know about the elements, that means metals, non-metals and metalloids. Classification means a grouping of elements on the basis of their similarities and differences. And periodic means when one character comes or repeat itself after a regular interval, so that one is known as periodic. Such as you can understand this term, when you are in school, then there will be first period, second period, third period, fourth period. So why we call it as a period? Because it is just of 45 minutes, and after every 45 minutes it repeats itself. So this periodic term is taken like that. So elements are classified, and this classification is periodic classification. Let's discuss the chapter, then this terminology will be much more clear to you. Periodic classification of elements. First we discuss about classification of elements. The arranging of elements into different groups on the basis of their similarities in their properties is called classification of elements. That means we will arrange the elements into groups, maybe group, maybe subgroups, on the basis of their similarities in the properties. So this term is known as classification. The classification of similar elements into groups makes the study of elements easier. That means a question may be there that why there is a need to classify the elements. So classification is very, very important because classification makes our study easier. As you know that in 9th class you already discussed this topic, classification of organisms. So classification always makes the conditions easy, study easy. There are about 114 different elements known so far. This 114 is the old estimation, but now more than 118 elements are discovered. More than 118 elements, and this attempt, this you can say this discovery is still going on. Maybe tomorrow and the day after tomorrow and the 2 days after tomorrow you will find out that one out of one, not 118, it may be 120, 125. So this is the number that keeps on increasing and increasing. Early attempts at classification of elements, that means we are not the first one who are classifying the elements. We are not first one. These kind of attempts already had taken by some renowned scientists. So we will discuss about that. The earliest attempt to classify elements was grouping the then known elements, about 30 elements. That means when these attempts were started, then right now they are more than 118 elements, but at that time they were about 30 elements. And at that time only two groups were made, metals and non-metals, that you had already discussed in your previous classes. The defect in this classification was that it had no place for metalloid. Obviously, earlier there were only two categories, metals and non-metals. But some elements are there which contain some properties of metals and some properties of non-metal. So they were discovered later. So this was the drawback at that time, that there was no place for metalloid. Let's discuss the next one attempt. Daubernier triads. Daubernier was the scientist who attempted this classification. Daubernier classified elements in the increasing order of their atomic masses. Remember this thing, it is very, very important. On what basis they discovered, they explained it on the basis of their atomic masses and increasing atomic masses. So elements were arranged on the basis of increasing atomic masses into groups of 3 elements. How many elements? Into groups of 3 elements called triads. So there is one question, that why these are known as triads? Because this was the arrangement of 3 elements. That's why that was known as triads. In each triad, the atomic mass of the middle element was approximately equal. Approximately, that means not exactly, approximately equal to the average atomic mass of the other 2 elements. Let me explain it. For example, there are 3 elements, lithium, second one is sodium, third one is potassium. So these are the 3 elements arranged on the basis of increasing atomic mass. You can see here, this is the order of increasing atomic mass, 6.9, 23.0, 39.0. The average atomic mass of the middle one is approximately, the atomic mass of the middle one is approximately the average of first and third one. When we calculate the average atomic mass by taking first one and third one, then the answer will be approximately equal to the average atomic mass of the middle one, like this. So the average of 6.9 and 3.9 is 22.95. So it is approximately equal to the middle one. So these are the groups. But very few, this was the drawback of Daubernier triads, that very few elements were, you can say, follow this kind of triad. So the defect in this classification was that all the known elements could not be correctly arranged into triads. There are only 3 triads in which we can see this kind of pattern, but not more than these 3. So only 3 triads were found. This kind of application, this triad formula will not be applicable. At that time, it was not applicable on the other element. So that's why this was the drawback of Daubernier triads. This was the another one scientist. I will discuss it into the next session. I hope you understand it. Have a nice day. Goodbye.